get this right second time. We have a little bit of a technical difficulty, but hey, we're back in. Today we're going to be breaking down Germany, their position in Bitcoin. Things are starting to heat up today with the most Bitcoin they've disposed of, how the market might react, what this may mean in terms of some other tokens. We will take a look at some charts today, so we'll get into all that for you. It's going to be a good one. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into Tech Path. All right, couple of points I want to get to. First is our sponsor. If you're brand new to crypto, maybe this is your first time to start to explore, you're thinking this is the perfect time to get Bitcoin when it's down, go in and start your dollar cost averaging or something like that. You need an exchange, go to Coinbase.com. You can, of course, use our code. You're going to get up to $200 in crypto when you sign up there. So check it out. It's a great place to start. Plus, they have a really good DeFi wallet. If you're thinking self-custody, this might be a position for you guys to start kind of your crypto journey. A couple of points I want to get in on right here. We'll go to the CoBEC letter. Key events this week. Chair Powell, of course, testifying Tuesday. We'll also see the OPEC monthly report, which is the oil report coming out on Wednesday. June CPI inflation data. This is Thursday. I think this is the big day of the week to see how CPI continues to hold inflation. Likelihood is it could be softer. Hopefully that is the case. If we still see the continued downturn, many people will start to ask that question. Is it time for the potential pivot of Chair Powell? So a lot to look at. Of course, jobs have been on the forefront after a soft report. So big deal. 9 Fed speaker events this week as well. This is the hearing that Chair Powell is going to be at. It's the Federal Reserve semi-annual monetary policy report. That's going to be happening on Wednesday. So that's the point where we're going to get a chance to see Chair Powell in front of Congress going in. I want to go to this first clip because this is going to kind of set the tone for what's happening in the markets right now. And this is Morgan Stanley talking about where the market position is currently, how they're playing it. Take a look.
Yeah, look, we're in this period where bad is good for multiples, right? So slower growth, as long as it's not a recession, brings down inflation expectations, which allows the Fed to cut. And that's what the market has been anticipating now for almost a year. Now, they've been wrong about the number of cuts, but the conclusion the equity market is making right now is that, well, there's not going to be a hike. And we know the direction of travel is down. And that's fine so long as that negative growth surprise doesn't turn into a hard landing. And right now, that's not the case. Now, the labor market is showing signs of weakness, but not to the degree that would freak out equity markets. And so what's going on is the markets are very efficient right now. They're basically putting money to work in high quality growth stocks. They're paying up for anything that has growth because that's what the market needs. Growth is scarce. So people are saying, well, the market should broaden out. It's not going to broaden out if this continues, but it also doesn't mean that we're going to collapse until there's either evidence that we're going to have a hard landing or there's evidence that we're going to reaccelerate and then the Fed can't cut and rates go higher. So we're stuck. We're stuck in this sort of environment that really a lot of active managers don't like because it's narrow, it's hard to pick stocks again, and it's hard to outperform.
Yeah, this is getting into a time where this is where your asset managers kind of earn their position. This is where it gets a lot harder, not necessarily just picking the S&P 500, but I do think we are going to see some pressures from a macro side of things. And remember, we still have not only the summer months to deal with, a lot of political framework, but what's happening right now within the Bitcoin market. Probably the lead story still is Germany. The German government now shifting an additional 3K in Bitcoin in the last hour. This ended up being a pretty heavy accelerant. I'll show this to you on Arkham in a second. But one of the things that people are kind of urging the government is to stop its hasty disposal of the Bitcoin. They're also looking at her statement around the German government on July 4, stating that the retaining Bitcoin could aid the country in diversifying its treasury assets, even though that doesn't appear to be the case right now. At the time, the wallet in question held over 42,000, 2.4 billion. I think the number right now is down to a 1.4 billion holding in Bitcoin right now. If you jump over to, is it Arkham? Yeah, here we are. Arkham, you can kind of see where the current wallet is. I didn't refresh this yet, so it's around 1.4 billion coming in. I'll zoom in on this. I want to show you some of the disposal of what they've done in a fairly short period of time here. This is just over the past little bit. As you can see, 48 minutes ago, another 50, 150, 200, 500, 600, 800, or 380, 650. All of this happening within the last hour. Then there's your 5 hours ago. And of course, all this is coming across, as you'll notice, a variety of exchanges. There's Kraken, Coinbase, Bitstamp, BKA. So a lot definitely in play right now. What does this mean for Bitcoin? Continuing to see downward sentiment on Bitcoin. And I think this is a problem that we're probably going to look at for the next little bit anyway. Still Bitcoin holding a market cap of above $1 trillion. I know this isn't a lot in terms of it. What's interesting about this is the fact that they're having to jump around on exchanges, which is really the situation of just supply. And supply could be a factor as we play into a lot of things. Remember, a lot of people not putting tokens on exchanges these days. And when you look at supply and demand being able to go out there, and of course what we're seeing within the activity within the German government, kind of showcases a little bit of market openness here for sure. Other things I want to hit on right here. This, of course, was the accumulation by Watcher Guru, saying that 17,000 Bitcoin have been disposed, and the largest in a single day, worth 951 million. Lots of numbers there. And we'll do a poll. I want to kind of get your opinion on this, but Bitcoin's still dropping. German government sells off their Bitcoin holdings. I'll show you what the chart looks like. Matter of fact, let's just jump over the chart right now. We'll take a quick look on Bitcoin right now. And we are in, let me zoom out on this one a little bit, still holding that 56.3 range. If you go to the hourly, this probably changed things up slightly. Somewhat flat, actually, after this little bit of dip right here off of that 57.8 number. Which is where we've kind of come down to around 55.7 or so, starting to climb back out here in the short range right now. You know, we could see this come in a little bit stronger on pushing Bitcoin down to that 52 level, which is the level we've been looking at for a while, as it potentially it could reach. A couple other points when I get to a couple other tweets. This one right here coming in, talking about Germany still dumping. Bitcoin transaction tokens were transferred back to the German government wallet on Friday, which we thought were buying, but instead it didn't come from them buying new coins. They were just not sold. So unfortunately, they're still selling Bitcoin, as you can see. That I think is going to continue for a while. It does not look like Germany is going to position positively, you know, overall. Just to give you an example right here on the current position of largest government holdings, right there, China number 2. Wow. Still the U.S. number 1. UK holding about almost 4 billion, and then of course Germany right there was at 3.2. But El Salvador opening things up. Let's go to a couple of clips. This next clip will get into a little bit more detail on things happening around whether or not these levels are going to hold where we are right now, around that 56K mark. Let's take a look.
I mean, there are times when Bitcoin can actually be an indicator of what to expect in the NASDAQ or just the risk-on trade.
Yeah. Correlations have been pretty high, too, recently with the NASDAQ 100 and Bitcoin. And then you start to think about them all as these risk assets, right, more broadly. But, of course, the NASDAQ just keeps going and going and going, and Bitcoin has broken some support.
You think 51 doesn't hold? You think the 40s is, I mean...
Well, that would suggest there's something structural sort of amiss for Bitcoin from a technical perspective. It would jeopardize that long-term uptrend to some degree. We would expect that we see oversold conditions return close to that level, though.
Interesting point here is this coming in from CNBC that they opened with Bitcoin today. So a lot of concern, I think, in Wall Street in general about the retracement. Remember, we have some strong inflow still going into these ETFs, and that has been leading up to this. So there's some people in negative positions. I think that's a factor that plays into this. Andy Bear from CoinDesk talked a little bit more about this cycle. He goes in a little more detail as well. Take a look.
So 2024 has been a sort of a two-act play. The first quarter was really a strong uptrend. We unlocked so much demand with Bitcoin spot ETFs. No one wanted to get in front of that rally. The demand worked, the market structure worked, the ETFs worked flawlessly. In Q2, that rally just fizzled. We've kind of been wandering since then, but now it's all about the supply from Mt. Gox and from the governments that have seized Bitcoin.
How long will that last?
Well, the best news is it's finite, right? A lot of this is cleanup from 10-year-old problems. And, we spent a lot of 2023 cleaning up a lot of the dirty dishes from 2022. That was successful. So the best news is there's not enough positive flows to really overcome the supply that the market sees over the next couple of months, but it's finite, and once it's done, then we're free to go up from there.
Well, free to go up. The key there is going to be demand. And if you even look at other markets, Ethereum, there were some sales of almost 30,000 Ethereum in 37 days. A little bit here. This was Golem Project. You can kind of see a little bit around where they were. This move also in line with Bitcoin selling by Germany. So I think there's some scenarios where Bitcoin and ETH still continue to kind of move in unison. If you look at that chart in terms of ETH. And I think this is one to watch because ETH has the potential here, especially with the ETF, of really taking a very positive spin into the market. Even though we may not see a recovery or a significant recovery from Bitcoin immediately during that cycle, it's very possible that Ethereum could be the winner here overall. Another S1 came rolling in from Van Eck. They've already had their fees, so nothing to see here. That's still a positive note going forward. I think I also saw somewhere that we saw an ETH ETF coming in for my shares as well. So lots of stuff happening. Spot ETH, ETF S1 amendments supposedly due tomorrow. How quickly will the SEC turn around these particular documents? Again, this is very critical right now, I think, in terms of the timing. Grassi's still looking at a couple of weeks. This would put it back out into that mid to late July, which has been actually the more, I believe, conservative position, and one that many people have not necessarily been looking at. And if you look at how Bloomberg has analyzed this, everybody was looking at that early July, and even to this week. Most likely not going to happen. I think we're still looking at a few weeks out before we see the ETH ETF. If we get a surprise, though, if there is a surprise around an ETH ETF, that could shift the market in a very, very big way. So be on the lookout for some of that. Don't forget, yeah, I know I'm trying to recover, guys. I see your notes. Thank you, but I'm trying to recover. It's gonna get better, I promise. One thing to be thinking about right now is if you have not hit the like button, make sure and do that. Look, I'm really busting it here for you guys. And there's a reason. These markets right now are very sensitive. Volatility is possibly at its highest that we've seen in the last year. So these next few weeks are going to be very critical. If you've not been tuned into crypto YouTube lately, now is the time to do it. So make sure and hit subscribe, hit the like button on a couple of videos. We'll get in your feed and go from there. Other tweets I want to hit on right here. Matrix Port coming in. This is their claim. Basically, remember, they've been also analyzing this before. They've done this before, but they're saying likely approval this week. That's the big push from Matrix Port. They've been on and off. They also made some calls on the Bitcoin ETFs, not necessarily accurate on those. A couple others that I want to look at. ETH now completely retraced the ETF news, so just like Bitcoin did after the news dropped. Then Bitcoin proceeded to rally. Remember when that came up from 38 to 72? Take a look. Now, I know these are two separate assets, two completely different ecosystems, and in many cases, two different kinds of investors, because I think when you look at where innovation is set forth, it is a much more aggressive investor, and that's where I think the ETH clan falls in there for sure. Other things right here. Crypto market struggles. Of course, BlackRock's BUIDL fund, now operating on Ethereum, continues to attract new investors. And we're seeing some pretty big numbers on this. If you look at the RWA data, they've been up around $500 million on here. Yeah, look at that. Total max supply right now of BUIDL still continuing to grow. So this is very strong. We've had BUIDL, and I shouldn't say BUIDL, Securitize, on the show before. Which really gets into, I think, the future of where, tokenized securities are going to be going. But more importantly, I think it's the vision of what Wall Street means for sure. So lots of stuff there. You can kind of see the market right there flowing pretty heavily. And of course, there's the breakdown right there with BlackRock Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund right there on Ethereum, 491 mil. Not bad. Don't forget, put some questions in over in the chat down below or on the side, whichever visual you got going for you. We'll try to get some of those questions. We will go into the charts as well. The other thing to be on the lookout for is this roundtable that is happening right now. Remember, this is Mark Cuban and Rokana, which I think this might be a good match, even though I would say Cuban is, you know, a little bit more of a deeper Democrat. But the point is, he is a pro crypto business person. And I think in the sense you need someone like that, not an analyst or a crypto, I won't say crypto bro, but you know, a guy who is more all in on crypto versus someone who looks at crypto as an innovation. And I think that's where Cuban plays in on this. So this could be good. It also could be good for Biden if he does continue to stay in the race. It could reposition some crypto voters if Biden comes in with some positivity there. So it's scheduled to include notable figures, as you guys have seen. Garlinghouse will be there. Scaramucci will be there. I'm kind of zoom in on this for you guys. Scaramucci will be there. Rokana's initiative underscores the effort to bolster the ties between the Democratic Party and the crypto industry. This might be a good play for President Biden, especially with him being so adamant about staying in the race. Key executives from Coinbase is going to be there. That'd be good if Brian is there. Kraken and also prominent Democratic officials. So we'll see who all shows up and what this might look like, because I think the key here will be how the White House responds to all of this. So some big stuff out there for sure. Joe Biden, he says, this morning I sent a letter to my fellow Democrats. I'm in it and I'm not moving. It's time for us to come together, move forward in a unified party and defeat Donald Trump. That is his position. It looks as though it seems to be holding a little bit more because we're starting to see it less and less of a position and percentage. If you look at Polymarkets, it's fallen down below 50%. So that might be strong for the Dems. Eleanor Terrett hit on this right here, which is not strong for Joe Biden, and that is adding a possible House vote to overturn the SAB 121. There's going to need to be a 2/3 majority on this. Some people say probably not possible, but we look at it and say this might actually be attainable. And if that happens, it will show the support, I think, in both the Senate and the House that maybe the administration will finally take note on. And this roundtable might be a segue into a reposition. Remember, Trump did a flip on crypto. Could Biden be in that camp as well? Don't put it outside of that, because that will win some votes in a big way. And if he goes all in on it, it could be a big deal for sure. And just to give an example, here's Trump right here sparking a Bitcoin rally. Could in the second half of the year if he's elected. Remember, he has repositioned on Bitcoin for sure. And I think this has probably been one of the biggest pivots by anybody in the crypto, I should say in the political eye, especially someone at this status. So pretty big deal, I think, for Trump taking on. So he's more pro-crypto candidate than his policies, such as Bitcoin, more appealing to the wider world. He also accepts cryptocurrencies. Remember, ETH, even Shiba. But remember, he also has NFTs out there. So there's a lot already in his understanding. I don't know that he himself, but I think his team understands the impact it means to the campaign. And that in itself is a pretty big statement. Last on this article is right here. If Trump is elected, it's certainly possible that Bitcoin will experience a temporary boost in value. That coming in November. And we could see a pretty good pump in the entire market into 2025, because we'll most likely see a lot of that pent-up demand that people have been waiting on, which has been a little bit of regulatory, a little bit of off pressure from the SEC, some openness for innovation. Those kind of things would all make it clear. Don't forget, yes, we're going to try to get to some questions here on the show, and we'll take a look at the chart too. A couple of things happening here. I want to go over to the Solana chart. Everybody knows I got to take a look at Solana. One thing that if you're not in on right now, we've got a new indicator here that gets into a lot more of our tool set around our market sentiment index or indicator now. And Solana did a little bit of a positive and a negative move on our indicators, which shows a little bit of uptrend right now on Solana, holding it around 137 currently, but off of that low of around 121. So that crossover was kind of interesting on Solana. Avalanche almost did the same thing. and it'll paint here in a second. Yeah, Avalanche almost did the same thing, even though I feel like we're probably a little bit more negative sentiment pushing down on Avalanche right now. Bitcoin, of course, has had some negative sentiment for quite some time, so it's continuing to trend down. We'll see if it holds here or if it stabilizes. That's a key point. I think if we start to drop under that 55K again, it could revisit a fairly significant negative sentiment position overall. If you are not part of the MSI, you can actually get these indicators now. We're starting to roll these out to where you get this indicator on TradingView for all tokens. It's going to be for anything out there. So check it out. If you're not in our Diamond Circle, make sure and click our link down below. We're going to try to get to some questions. I see a bunch of them coming in. And let's go to the poll real quick, see what we have there. All right, here we go. What happens first? 52K. So everybody's still pushing. And ETH, not so much, only 14%. So overwhelmingly bearish on Bitcoin today. Huh, interesting. All right, well, let's take some questions. We got Tom Crown in the chat. He's asking, am I going to make it to Nashville? I'm going to try to. You know me, guys, I hate traveling, but if I go somewhere, Bitcoin conference would be a good place to go. Might be good to catch up with some of you guys and do a couple of interviews anyway. Wrong answer in a poll. Okay. Boycott Germany. A lot of people really upset about this. Republican National Committee approves a draft of party platform to defend the right to mine and self-custody Bitcoin. Fox Mulder says MAGA all the way. All right. Bitcoin will recover to the moon from August onward. I like that date range right there. Actually, I do like that one because of what we can see on the macro front, because I feel like Bitcoin is more tied to inflation, overall economic, because you need new investors coming in, but you also need faith in the market. And that is something that I think August forward could be a very critical time forward. Is it time to accumulate alts? Listen, there's some good buys out there right now. I don't know. Everything's up a little bit in the market right now. Let's take a look at what might be. Look at Celestia. Jesus, that thing is just absolutely exploded here. Let's take a look at Render, still continuing the downtrend. Doesn't look like it's going to recover there anytime soon. And if I look at anything else, we had the Crypto Pit did do a little purchase on Sandbox the other day. I noticed that. What else was out there? Flow holding. Looks like we might hit the bottom on Flow. A couple other tokens for sure. Audius, we should probably take a look at that one. Let's take a look at Audius. That's up here in the MSI. There's a few things with Audius that I do like. I've been in and out of Audius. And the thing, obviously, being a Solana token, but the one thing that Audius has been, I think, pressured with is the fact that this has really kind of come off some pretty big buying zones. This may be a good position on Audius right now. I mean, this thing is way below current market. That's if you believe in what they're doing. I know that we've talked about them for quite a while. They're one of those tokens that could fly at any moment. All they need is a break. And like a lot of things, you know, same thing with Helium. You look at Helium Mobile, all of those are kind of same thing. So there's any kind of major note. The other one I would look at is Hedera. Hedera is one that always gets a major push anytime we start to see any kind of news coming out of those. Cycle is getting real too, because summer months they start working toward those releases of that kind of stuff. What else do we have here? I used to think Sol was the best crypto until I got introduced to ADA. I have now sold all my Sol for ADA. That's Adam. Adam has done that. He sold all his Sol for ADA. Wow, I don't know how to say anything about that. Okay, let's go further into this. We've got, what do we got? Lionel says, just tuned in for the first thing I hear is going to get better, I promise. LOL. I do like the market in the sense that right now there is enough pressure from both the macro side, the political side, the global economic side that you don't know. I mean, you would need a major event to see I think a further downturn. If we get under 50K, that I would agree. Back to the CNBC analysts, is there's something, you know, fundamentally wrong with Bitcoin if we see an under 50. So definitely for sure. What else do we have here? I had a number of government German government will buy back a lot of Bitcoin because there's a group of crypto investors that they're upset about this. Well, I know crypto Steve-O, that might be reality, but this is a government, man. They don't do much for the people. So I think that one's going to stick around, I think, for a while. It's going to hurt. But there is a finite number there. So at least we know that. Asset House, why don't they sell 70K, dump it back down to 56? Yeah. What would happen if Germany sold all its Bitcoin and put that money into XRP? I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. Now, they may work with XRP for sure, and Ripple in general, because that's something for sure. But remember that Germany has been in and out of these economic fronts for quite some time. We also have situations brewing in France that has split the political party there. I don't think we're going to see a lot of legislation now starting to move in some of these countries, which have led the EU. Even though with MiCA, this may be an opening for the U.S. So there's some things that could be happening for sure. Last up, we'll leave on ETH. I want to actually look at the ETH Bitcoin chart because this was very positive, and just here recently has started to go a little bit more soft on Ethereum. Now that may mean that we could see Ethereum slightly on the downturn. So we are looking for an entry on ETH, especially going into this potential ETF. So we'll try to get to any of those. All right, guys, if you're not in the Diamond Circle, get in now. It's very easy and it's super simple because it's free. And you get into the new community. We've got a lot of new stuff happening over there. The airdrops start over there as well. All of that's happening. Follow me on X, @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.